afternoon to all, and welcome to Anglo Lit Fest 2021, where we talk about books and we meet the authors who wrote them. So today, I am your host, Ayana James, and I want to welcome Kerry Kittson to Anglo Lit Fest 2021. She is from the parish of All Saints in Newtown, Port of Spain. By day, she is an attorney and a certified mediator, but she's also an author of a young adult series called Estrel, a 3-part series, as well as a children's series, 2 children's series called The Tree Tales and The Sea Tales. So, Kerry, welcome to Anglo Lit Fest.
Thank you so very much, Ayana. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share about my books. I really appreciate it.
Well, I have to say, I am really very pleased to be talking to Anglicans in our diocese who are writing. So this is an absolute pleasure for me. So, Kerry, let's jump straight into your young adult series, Estrel, right?
Yeah.
Tell us, what was the inspiration for Estrel? I mean, you're an attorney and a certified mediator, but then you are doing a young adult series. So where did the inspiration come from?
Well, actually, I started writing Estrel when I started going to law school, or started the program for law school. So I'd have been in my first year of BUE. I had already done a bachelor's in economics, and I had started the Harry Potter series later. It was actually like about 20 or so when I started reading Harry Potter. So my friend in college introduced me, and then I was like, I like this genre. I like how they have it, because I'm like, at that time, we didn't have much young adult fiction, right? We didn't have much young adult fiction writers like J.K. Rowling. I grew up on Tamara Pierce, and I grew up on Nancy Drews and Hardy Boys. So I'd be like, I would just devour all of these books. And I was like, you know what? Let me just try something and see what I can do. When I was younger, I had wrote 1 or 2 articles for Wispé for their kids section. So it was something I kind of liked doing, and I just continued. And as I got into law school, and it's just of having to cases and doing the law and all of that items, it was a wonderful medium for me to just relax and create my own world where you can just build everything from the ground up. And that's what I did with Estrel. Estrel was a work of love, I have to admit. It took me a while. Quite a while to finish, but I'm glad that I did, because sometimes they say you never know what you can do until you do it, and that's precisely it. I never knew I would be able to write a book until I did Estrel, and then from Estrel I just started doing others.
Yeah,
and I continued.
Well, I mean, talk to us about Estrel. Talk to us about the series. What it's about, and the motivation behind the characters, the setting, etc.
All right, so at that time, I was heavily influenced by J.K. Rowling, as well as I liked Dune. So I was in a mixture of everything. But Astral literally starts off about sisters. And it's about how sometimes in life we start off at a particular point, and then life just takes us into a different journey, different pathways, and we may diverge. But at the end of the day, even though you diverge, you always come back to the center. You're always there for each other. And Astral is really supposed to be about those type of bonds, those familiar bonds, those bonds that even though family is more than blood, and just basically just having fun as well doing it. Now, I actually started to like my characters quite a bit. So,
Dahlia and Talia, yes. Dahlia and Talia, the sisters, yes.
Dahlia and Talia. And then I was like, okay, so I now have Dahlia and Talia. Now I have children with Dahlia and Talia. So I just expanded the characters and their storylines, because everybody's like, what happens next? Those who actually liked it, because I have a friend, and she loved Astral. To the point where she keeps telling me, I almost got a ticket reading your book, And she would proceed to tell me, basically, she was at the stoplight, it was taking forever, she was in a lot of traffic, so she's like, she just hurried, start reading the book, so she just picked it up, and she was like, that's a couple of pages, not realizing a couple of pages, turned out to be more, until the police officer knocked on her window, and it's like,
oh my God.
You're holding up traffic, and she's like, I'm so sorry, and she keeps telling me this story, and I was just like, thank you. of course, she's the same one that when I finished my last book, she was the first person I sent for to read because I was like, I need your opinion. How does this? And she's like,
Yes.
when's the next one? I'm like, I just finished this one.
The effects of good writing. Now, in the series Astral, the first one, it talks about the mages. What is a mage?
Well, again, as I said before, I was with Harry Potter.
Yes.
I was influenced by Harry Potter at this point in time. A mage is somebody who how to describe it? The normal realm of understanding is that magic and stuff like that. But a mage is could be somebody who basically just has a special gift and talent that they can use. Simple as that. And I think that we in the Christian and also just all the religions, we have had persons who have special abilities and special I would say ideas, but
they have gifts and talents.
Yeah, talents. We all have different gifts and talents, and we can use it. What if you call us mages, if you call us whatever, but this is essentially what it's about. And it's how we use it, and in service of others, and in service of the God that you serve. And I just wanted to bring in those particular themes as well, because at the end of the day, when you write, it's something more than you, and it's something that you want to bring across a message that essentially good versus evil, and you would like good to always to win out, and therefore it's also about the process, because not everything is cut and dry, and not everything is black and white, and you have to realize that at the end, through it all, you just have to have faith. You just have to have faith. And Astral started, and Astral was a journey in faith.
Wow, that's really awesome. On the screen here, this is the cover for the first book, right? The first book, Astral. When you saw this, Kerry, a novel by Keri Kitson, how did that feel?
I was like, oh my goodness. I was smelling the pages. I was just like smelling the book. I was like, oh my goodness. And I was smiling from ear to ear. It was like a quiet sense of joy that this is something, it's as if you're dating a child. I've never had the experience of having a child as yet, but literally it feels like that, because you've invested so much time and energy and effort into creating this and bringing it to fruition. And when you actually see it come to fruition, and it's a book in its own, you're like, oh my goodness. It's a rewarding feeling. It's like, thank you, God. Thank you.
Amen. So, Kerry, what I want you to do at this point in time is to do a reading first, right? Read a part of the book. Are you reading from Astral, the first book? Or
I will read from Astral, the first book.
Right.
So I'm actually going to read, as I said before, it's a book about, in many respects, about family and relationships. So I'm going to read, it's page 308, which is chapter 17. So I just give you a little sneak preview. A common goal. A day later, the Vargadome. There were times when being the overlord was not all that it was cracked up to be. He had managed to create an empire in the time he had been elected Mage King. He is the ultimate ruler of the mage population. Yet dealing with that odious little mage known as the Protector wore on his nerves. The Protector had sent him a memo concerning the inclusion of a special item in the ceremony tomorrow night. It involved a spell that promised to be very special to their world. It was a mere courtesy on the Protector's part. So he had merely sent a response duly noting the inclusion. His sons had turned 21 a day ago, and he had to face the fact that he had not been much of a father. Aral had opted to go stay by his maternal grandfather's home in the Maori Dome. He still hadn't been able to locate his other son after all these years. He suspected that Talia had taken his son to the refugee camp that is rumored to exist. No one in his employ had ever been able to discover its existence. Yet, those who had disappeared over the years must have gone somewhere. They certainly were not within any of the domes. He had found himself conversing with Delia in times like these. Sometimes, it was as if she was just on the periphery of his world. He had many regrets in his life, amongst which he could count the times that they had lost together. She had been a truly wonderful person, and he had been too busy maneuvering court politics and chasing the phantom. He had tried after the death of Delia's father to be a better father to Arrow. He had made sure that Arrow never wanted for anything. What he could not give him in terms of his time, he compensated for in material terms. If he was honest, at times he had been a bit jealous of the close relationship that the Viceroy had with his son. However, it had begun to bother his conscience more of late. Perhaps it wasn't too late to try. After all, the Phantom had been limiting the number of his attacks over the last few months. If he left now, he could spend some time with Arrow. The Empire could survive a few days without him. Thus, having made up his mind, he issued a message to the Viceroy, telling him that he was in charge for a few days. As he tidied up loose ends before he headed to Mirari, he felt considerably lighter than he had in years. He felt Delia's presence with him, as if she too was pleased that he had finally taken up the gauntlet to salvage a relationship with his son.
Wow, that was really lovely. And you know, one of the things that I appreciate from what I read reading part of the first book, Estrel, is how vivid your writing is, Keri. Like in the first chapter, there was a fight scene. I don't want to give away too much, right? But there was a fight scene between the main character, Talia, and someone else. And like I felt like I was in the fight, like I was watching the fight because of how vivid your descriptions. I mean, it was really good. And I like Talia. Talia seems to be like she's very loyal, and she's like a no nonsense, I know what I want and I'm going after it kind of character. So I really, really like Talia as well. So this is awesome. Really, really awesome. And I'm so glad, and I'm glad to know that we have books like this available for young people right here in Trinidad. I mean, I love J.K. Rowling too. I have my Harry Potter series as well. But we have our own writers here. So kudos to you, Keri. Kudos to you.
Thank you. But you know, we have a lot of writers in Caribbean as well, because I'm like, when I wrote this book, I didn't realize there's something called magical realism, and this is what I was actually writing.
So, yeah. I did magical realism at university as well. Yeah. But we have it right here in Trinidad, and Kerry Kittson, you're the author. So hats off to you. Now, Keri, you not only wrote a young adult series, but you also had some more inspiration to write a children's series, two actually, the Tree Tales and the Sea Tales. So talk to us about that.
I'll talk to you about the Sea Tales actually, because that's the second one in the children's series.
Sure.
I had already finished the Tree Tales about 4 or 5 years before, and I really didn't think it was so soon. I was just like, you know, I found it was just something else. I did like a fluff piece. But these Sea Tales, I kept telling myself I had to finish it because I wanted to actually do a whole series in it, like 3 books in this particular series. And I went on to, I kid you not, I went to the sea because this was before, when I started writing, I had not started open water swimming. So I had gone to the beach on New Year's Day, and I went into the water, and I was like, "Oh, and I promised I would finish this book. I'd finish this book." And it's like, you know, literally, I kid you not, about 2 days later, somebody walks into my house to talk about planning a Easter event in our neighborhood, and he's an illustrator, and my husband brought him in. And they were like, you know, talking about the posters and the signs and stuff like that. And then I sat down to talk to him afterwards. And he's like, you know, he always wanted to illustrate a book. And I'm thinking to myself, I just asked Gordon about 2 days ago. He wants to. And he's like, you know, and it's a young guy. His name is Isaiah Lindsay. He's the one that does this illustration. He is amazing. He was going to school in Florida at the time, and he had just come home for vacation to see his mom, who's a neighbor. And he was like, you know, we sat down, we talked, and like, you know, how he would like to do it, and it's something as this person I'm collaborating and to this extent with somebody, and he was just like, you know, just tell me a sample. Let me just read it and whatever. Just like, you know, let me just finish it. And I sat down and I wrote, and this book just came from somewhere else.
Yes.
And it just flowed and it just came together, and I had something ready for him to read in the space of a couple of days. And then I sent it to him, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, I see this." And I'm like, "I see it like this."
Yeah.
It was so much fun collaborating with him, and he did a really wonderful job. He did like about 4 illustrations for the book. He did the cover and 3 others inside. Actually, no, 4 others inside. And he is an amazing artist because to take from the writings and actually put it into a picture that persons can relate to. This is from the second chapter, and as you can all see, it's about jellyfish. And
Yeah.
he literally just made this, and it's so gorgeous because it's like, it's because there was I was just read about Little Spiego because I have this penchant for Little Spiego. I love Little Spiego. I love Tobago on the whole because my
Yes.
grandfather was from Tobago, but Little Tobago is something that has a special place in my heart. And Isaiah just brought it to life, and I was just like, thank you so much.
Yes, they're really, really beautiful illustrations. And when I listened to the audiobook of the sea tales, I mean, first of all, I love the sound of the sea while I was listening to the story, right? And I love when the story ended, there was a little bit of pan at the end. I was like, listen, this reminds me of, I don't know if I'll be showing off my age, right? But they used to have stories on the radio for children. They used to have little stories. That reminded me of that. I was like, this was so beautiful. It was beautiful. I love it's a local voice. It's just 100% local, Kerry. 100% local. Absolutely love it. And there was an environmental theme where it spoke about the plastic with the turtles as well. I was like, this fantastic stuff. Fantastic.
That's just I say, but I'd just like to say something. You see, the pan and all the other background music and items to that book, that is courtesy of Nigel Scott because he's like, he was the narrator for the audiobook for the details. As my first audiobook, so I had so much fun actually getting to do this. I thought that the details was probably you should when you have favorites, you're like, about favorite children. It was one of my favorites.
I hope you don't have favorite children, right, Gary?
So, but I'm like Nigel went and he did because I went to them to do the vocals. And then he's like, I thought it'll be fine just doing the street vocals and that's it. That's the audiobook. He's like, no, you know what you have to do? You should get some music, get some background, get some stuff.
And
he was like, and I was like, all right. And then like I heard it and I was like, it was so gorgeous. I was like, okay, Nigel, yes, you're right. And I'm glad that I was able to listen to him and that he's able to do it because he passed away he did it in July, he passed away by October, November. So I was so grateful because something tells you when it's to do something, to do something.
Yeah, to do something. Yeah.
That was one of those moments.
Wow.
It was also the recording details. It's probably one of my favorite children.
Awesome. You have anything that you want to share from the children's series with us?
Sure. Can I read? Do I read before I do a reading or just generally?
Yeah, the reading. Yes, the reading first from the children's series.
All right. So the details. I'm going to read from Unusual Friends, and it's the last chapter in the book. So, once upon a time, there was a sudden stingray named Sayo, who lived in the sun-kissed coastal waters surrounding a small island known as Little Tobago. It was a tiny island situated near the edge of the Caribbean Sea, but made its place ideal for any stingray, with many bays with golden sands and calm, balmy waters. In short, it was a stingray's paradise. Although stingrays had diamond-shaped backs, which were often dark or dark brown, and long tails to defend themselves, they loved to play in the sand at the bottom of the seabed. Sai loved to bury himself in the sand and sleep for hours on end, as the sun shone through, making the world around him appear to be a crystal ball. He also loved to swim to the surface, jump into the air, then dive down to the bottom. When he did this, he would normally surprise anyone who was on the surface. Life was good, and he was quite happy, until the day the turtles returned with a companion in tow. At first, he just observed them, as they guarded in a group, and then in groups of twos and threes would go ashore. After a few hours, that group returned from shore, and another batch would follow the same pattern. Having seen this before, Saya soon realized that The turtles were following their migratory instincts and returning home to nest. However, this time, they brought along a little fish that seemed a bit odd. He smelled the venom on this little fish a mile away. It was venom from the Portuguese man of war. In Sayo's mind, in less than a minute, this moved the little fish from the potential lunch menu to the toxic materials menu. Sayo vowed to give it as wide a berth as possible and hoped that the turtles would take it away when they left. He had ventured about enough to recognize that dangerous creatures often came in small packages.
Wow. Fantastic. This is fantastic. Really, really fantastic. So I hope that those who are looking on after hearing Keri read from her young adult series and her children's series, that you are just chomping at the bit to get your hands on these books. So Keri, just to wrap up the interview, where can we get your books?
Right, so my books are available on Amazon.com as well as Apple Books, as well as Scrim, if you're interested in the audiobook. I normally sell my books, the hard copies, through a Metropolitan Bookstore, which is now located on Trafford Road. I have to restock a couple of my books on the bookstore, but my books are available online. So, and you can also check out the website. So if you get a chance, let's go. KerryKitson.com.
What's your website? What's your website?
KerryKitson.co.
All right. So thank you so much, Keri, for sharing your creations. You know, you call them your children. It really was fabulous just getting to know you and hearing about these books. I really want to wish you all the best in your writings. And do you have any more books, any more inspirations coming up?
I would like to finish my third children's book, which is called The Wind Tales. I was hoping to finish it by December this year. Not sure if it's going to be possible, but I'm going to try. If it is, then I'm going to release it before Christmas.
All right, beautiful. And I'm sure that you have the support of the diocese behind you. So it will be the Tree Tales, the Sea Tales, and the Wind Tales. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so very much, Keri, for joining us at Anglo Lit Fest 2021. You're so welcome. Our next author at Anglo Lit Fest 2021 is none other than Wispé Decouteau, or as the diocese affectionately calls her, Auntie P. Wispé is from the parish of St. Thomas in Chaguanas, and she's also a primary school teacher. So Wispé, welcome to Anglo Lit Fest 2021.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Great. So you have written a Lenten booklet for the youngsters in our diocese. So talk to us about the process, the inspiration for writing a Lenten booklet for them.
Okay, so the process of writing the Lenten booklet is a curious one. What took place was I was planning for school as usual, and it was just a thought. It was just a thought. I was thinking about it since January, and then lo and behold, Lent was coming swiftly along. And I think it was around the end of February, and I'm doing lessons plans one night, and then I said, I said I was gonna do a Lenten booklet. I'll do that tomorrow. And then tomorrow came, and then I said, you know what, I'll do tomorrow again. And then that night, I don't know how to describe the feeling, but my whole chest felt tight. And I just sat there and I said, you know what, let me just sit down and do this booklet. And I wrote out like 2 weeks. But the plan was to just have a general idea. These ideas started off as young ones at the church. So that age group between 5 and 12. They had to have something to do, and they really just needed something to do for Lent, because to me, looking at that age group, they just have the idea that Lent is we're going to fast and it's before Easter, full stop. So the idea behind it was to give them something to do for each day of Lent. So the book surrounded having a craft, a write-up, a Bible story. So each week was a Bible story, a craft, something to color, a song. Some of them have some of them have, what else was there, boy? Or something to eat, a recipe. So I was big on snacks. So I needed them to have some sort of recipe to do. And everything just tied back to length and working out length. Yeah.
What I like about the book is that, I mean, even me as an adult, when I looked at it, I was like, these are things that I can also do as well. So families, I believe, can engage in the in that booklet. So I think it was really well written, and very easy to follow. You know, the craft. I like there was the stained glass cross that I saw, and I was like, that looks really interesting. And I mean, you had the children with fish dishes and all kind of things. So that was really cool. How I know you said, you know, your chest was hurting you and you're planning it out fast, but in terms of start to finish and getting it proofread and so forth, how long did that take?
I think the only thing that was quick was the first 2 weeks. After that, it was tiresome. It took about a month. So it took about a month to complete the entire booklet, and I think I finished proofreading, editing, sending it out to the various churches, sending it out to various persons who needed to check on it. I think we finished just before Lent started. Like literally just before Lent started. One of the things, as I just saw it there, one of the most important things I wanted for young persons to note was the pillars of the Anglican Church. And what I liked about, at least for Lent, what I liked about doing the booklet is I learned something every time I did an assignment for it or a day. I learned something. So like I didn't know there were quote unquote, I'm not sure if this is the correct term, but quote unquote a pillar of Lent. So pray, fast, give. Those are the three pillars, and throughout the entire booklet that is surrounding what we want to talk about during the booklet. So everything was about prayer, something about fasting, and something about how to give. Especially the give part. So they had almsgiving days where they were supposed to have a basket or a box that they put things, depending on what day it is, in that almsgiving box. So one of the days they were supposed to give, what was that, grain. Another day they're supposed to give 2 tins. Another day they're supposed to give like bread or peanut butter or something. So everything surrounded pray, give, fast, and put in for little ones.
That is really good. This one is my favorite actually. Is the labyrinth. I tried the labyrinth at the cathedral, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna walk around in a circle. What effect is that gonna have? And I had to say I had an experience. So when I saw this, I was like, I didn't even think that a labyrinth could have been, you could have used your finger to go through the labyrinth as well to pray. So I really, really liked that as well. What has the response been since you did the booklet? What has the feedback been?
So the feedback has been overwhelming because everyone who read the book or used the book, whether it's an adult, because as you rightly said, I had adults using the book, printing the book, wanting the book, they experienced something different that I did not even think was the intention. So you said the labyrinth, and I'm like, okay, that's the first time somebody came at me that the labyrinth was so special to them. And I would have persons coming to me saying that they would have never thought to present Lent in such a way. And I think that response is what pushed me to say, okay, I did okay. Because I was really worried, because I'm like, who is Auntie Pay to write this book? Who is Auntie Pay to even do this? And the response was overwhelming, and I was like, okay, I could do this kind of way.
Glad to hear the feedback was positive, and therefore you pour your energy into an Advent booklet.
Advent
yes?
booklet, yeah. Yeah, so for the Advent booklets.
So how was that process? Was it the same as the Lenten booklet?
The Advent booklet surprisingly was a little bit difficult than the booklets for the Advent booklet is a little more challenging because of how it's not a day by day. It's more week by week. All right. So what I did is I ensured that things went week by week rather than day by day for Advent. There's some new things that I introduced in the Advent booklet that the Lenten booklet did not have. So it follows more camp vibe than a Lenten day by day daily bread vibe that the Lenten booklet had. So it was more camp week by week. So they have a body. So they have a local body that they will meet. So they have local animals that pertain to hope, love, peace, and joy. So they have local animals to learn about. See, I went and visited some of the local animals that are in the book. So they get to see me with the animals. Again, food. I really do love including the snack for the kids to do. So snacks, food, but again, it's Christmas time as well. So I would have tried to do more Christmassy, traditional, local Christmas items for them, all tying it right back to the central theme of what is Advent.
And I think what I saw with the Lenten booklet, you didn't put dates. So we could use that booklet any year.
Anytime.
Right? So it could just be shared and shared and shared. And the wonderful price is that it's free. Yes. Right? So you gave us, the diocese, 2 wonderful resources just like that, Wispé. I mean, thank you so much. Thank you for that. Because I can't imagine it being an easy process. Right? It can't be. So
but it is fun. It may not be easy, but it is fun. And again, as I'm going along, I'm also learning about my faith and what I believe, and being in part of the diocese for so long, since birth really. It amazes me how every year you learn something different. Exactly. So this would not be my first Advent, and God's willing, it's not my last Advent, you know, and I'm sure the things that I learned last year, I mean, I learned something new this year, and I'm expecting to learn something new again next year, you know. So it's just a continuous process to discovering faith, and I wanted to really give young people and little children that opportunity to discover their faith.
Fantastic. So what else is in the pipeline? What other writings are you thinking about now?
Well, I am not necessarily thinking about writing anything else. It goes with the seasons. So I know I was talking and I'm trying not to laugh because I just had this conversation 2 days ago, and the person was telling me, well, if you're going with the seasons, then do one for Epiphany or do one for, and I'm like, that's not how it works, you know? But as it goes, I really do love youth ministry. So I'm not giving up on, not necessarily youth ministry, but more children's ministry. I'm not giving up on children's ministry. So I do plan, God's willing, next year to have another camp. Whether how that looks all depends on how COVID treats us, whether it's virtually or whether it's physically. It all depends on COVID and the guidelines that we have in place. But I do intend to have another camp next year. And if the Spirit leads, we would probably get another book or activity book, because it's weird calling it a book. An activity book for that children's ministry.
Well, as we wrap up the interview, though, I mean, tell us a little bit about the camp so people could get, a little excited about what could possibly happen next year. What was your camp?
I can't really tell you all about the camp because what happens is there is different modes to choose from. So right now it's either to design a camp or to just use a camp that's already prepared, which is what I did for Raw. I've not figured out that yet.
No, but tell us about Raw. Tell us what Raw was about.
So Raw was the first ever virtual VBS in our diocese. Raw spoke to young children about even if life is ... God is good. So no matter what took place in your life, especially as young children, because we think that the babies don't go through anything, their life is happy-go-lucky. But one of the things that I notice is the same way we are affected by COVID-19, they are as well. They're stuck in a house, they just here. I mean, online school is definitely not easy. So Raw gave them that opportunity to experience God through everything. So even when life is scary, even when life gets mad, even when you are afraid, God is good. So through it all, God is good. So it was just a normal VBS amped up and ramped up, and singing and dancing and just having fun with food and activities. So again, it all surrounds, and I keep mentioning food because it is a wonderful resource that we don't tap into. Using snacks as a concept lesson or as an object lesson for them to have something to pinpoint. To this day we have persons talking to me, oh my gosh, my child never ate yogurt before, but they came to camp and they ate this yogurt, and they could tell me that this is because it's the Red Sea and all these kind of, they could tell you with this food, and every time they eat yogurt. Planning for camp is not for the faint of heart. All right, planning is the most amount of fun you will ever have, but it is also the most stressful time you will ever have. All right, because you are responsible for fun. Fun and learning is a difficult task to plan for.
Yeah.
Right, no matter the age group, but it is the best opportunity to get children in. All right. I mean, for the camp, and I laugh because for the camp I was expecting 30 persons to show up. At the end of registration, I had to stop registration early. We had 150 children registered for camp.
150 or
150.
Wow.
And I was overwhelmed till every time I opened the Google form, I said, okay, I'm closing it now. I'm ending registration now. When it was at 50 children, I said, okay, this is enough. I can end it. And then I said, all right, I'll give it another day. Then I saw 80. I said, okay, that's enough. Then 88. By the afternoon of that Friday, we were at 150, and I had no idea what I was going to do. On the actual camp day, we ended up with every day we had a minimum of 80 to 100 campers every day who had fun, who learned about God, who learned that everything is okay and God is good, and how to roar, and we had a blast. And that is the intent of children's ministry to me, for young ones between that 5, actually younger than 5, because we had little paws. So little paws were 3 to 5-year-olds, which was again not the intent. The intention was to have from 6-year-olds go up, and 2 persons registered, and they registered their 2-year-old. And I said to myself, okay, I'm not gonna say no. And then more and more persons registered. They're under 5. So I said, all right, we have to design a camp for them. So I mean, that is camp, and we can expect that for next year as well. And counselors. Now, counselors are your best friends. They allow for you to run a camp successfully. Counselors also bleed into when you're writing. I sent the books to the counselors so that they have a general idea of who I am, because really and truly the letter and booklet represent me in a lot of ways. The write-ups, the stories behind that you find in the Lantern booklet is a lot of my experience, a lot of me in it. So when they got that, they kind of got the idea of who Auntie P is, right? So counselors for camp, again, they are your backbone. So if you are planning camp and thinking about planning camps, that is the way to go. Have trusted persons who you can get on board. Yeah, but as it pertains to swing back, as it pertains to future writings, I'm not going to say no, but I'm also not going to say yes. What I do intend to do though is to further my studies in children's ministry. So that when I do decide whether or not to do a book, do a camp, or do anything as it pertains to children's ministry, we do have that knowledge to back it up.
Fantastic. Well, Wispé, I would like to wish you all the best in all your endeavors. You know, looking forward to more booklets, looking forward to camps. Just looking forward to you really touching the younger ones in our diocese. You know, they need that special touch. They need that encouragement. And I mean, learning about God in a fun way, I mean, you can't go wrong with it, right? So
shout out to school teachers.
Sorry?
School teachers. Shout out to Sunday school teachers. Sunday school teachers really are the backbone of the church, and I don't care what anybody else says. Sunday school teachers rule the church. Right?
Amen.
Sunday school teachers all win.
And you know what? I would plant the seed of a Sunday school manual from you coming out. It may not be next year or the year before, the next year, sorry. But you know what? I'm planting that seed
for Sunday school teachers.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
A manual for Sunday school teachers or Sunday
Sunday school teachers, whatever.
We'll
written by Auntie P.
We'll see how that goes.
Yes.
I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes.
That's the line, right?
Yeah, that's the line. I'm not saying no, but I'm also not saying yes.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Wispé, for your time. Thank you for coming on to Anglo Lit Fest 2021 and sharing your writings with us, and all the best.
Thank you for inviting me. And again, thank you for making me a part of this.
No problem.